All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Golland, Senior Director of Product Marketing at Swoogo, and I'm joined by my colleague, Jessica Fields. Jessica, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Katie. I'm VP of Engineering at Swoogo. We're super excited to talk to you a little bit more about how to give your Swoogo data AI superpowers.
Yep, agreed. We're going to show you today how you can bring your Swoogo data directly into your AI tools. Actually, quick housekeeping item before we get started. Just want to make sure everyone knows that you can ask questions during the webinar. Feel free to drop them in the chat. We do have some friends in there helping to manage the chat, and then we'll also take questions at the end, but feel free to drop in any questions you have. And we will also send out this recording afterwards for anyone who's interested in rewatching it. So let's dive in. I want to take a minute to quickly just acknowledge the pace at which AI is moving. I'm sure you are all feeling it. If you are, let us know in the chat. But AI has genuinely changed the way that we work on a day-to-day basis. First drafts are no longer blank pages. How often are you finding yourself in ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, or any other AI tool helping to write session briefs, emails, or promotional copy? The best teams are really treating AI as a collaborator with a specific role. It even shows in how all of you on this call are adopting it. We asked when you signed up for this webinar today, what tools are you using when it comes to AI? And this slide represents those responses from all of you. Unsurprisingly, over 90% of you are using AI today. We are seeing that usage really skew towards the AI chat assistants, like ChatGPT being the highest here at 69%. Microsoft Copilot at 44%, Claude at 42%, and Gemini at 35%. What's also interesting is that we're seeing a lot of you out there, 64%, using 2 or more AI tools. Jessica, how many are you using on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, I'm using 5, 6, 7, however many it takes to get the job done, but I stick with my main two buddies.
Yeah, I hear you. So you kind of fall into that power user area. You can see that 13 of our attendees out there are using 5 to 6 tools. That's pretty incredible. We're seeing a lot of you fall into that 2 category. I'm typically with 1 most of the day, but it's really interesting to kind of see the adoption out there. One call out here is that it's kind of helpful to bucket. I mentioned it on the last slide, but it's really helpful to bucket these AI tools into 2 categories. On the left-hand side, we have our AI chat assistants, Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, Microsoft Copilot. We are seeing a strong adoption from all of you all out there. And then on the right-hand side, you can see our AI code editors and builders. And really where kind of a use case around that area is if you've heard the term vibe coding, where you're going out and you're actually using the AI tools to help you kind of create designs or potentially event sites. But up until recently, these AI tools were smart, but isolated. You could ask ChatGPT a question, but it couldn't see your event data. You could use Claude to write copy for you, but it really had no idea who your registrants were or what sessions were filling up. That really changed with the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, where you can see that MCP tag on some of these tools out there. Think of it as a universal connector or a shared language that lets these AI tools plug directly into the software you already use and actually read and work with your live data. And that's what we want to show you today. We want to show you our new Swoogo MCP server. And so if your team wants to use your AI tool like a Claude or a ChatGPT to manage that event data or analyze your registration trends, you can do that. We'll make that possible. So before we dive in, because we want to show you this in real practice, it's really exciting when you see it live. We want to talk through a little bit about kind of the current way or the old way of getting event insights. So Jessica, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So as we've said, all of this data lives in Swoogo. It lives in your dashboards and your reports, and that's where it will continue to live. So kind of the current way that you might go generate this data is to go into your dashboards rather, generate the reports, maybe extract those out into a Google Sheets, do some more analysis, some pivot tables, and really kind of like massage that data to get it to be what you want it to be and what you want it to look like. And you can still do all of that for your reporting. But what we really wanted to focus on here with MCP was enabling you to use the tools that you're now using every day, or a lot of you are using every day, these AI tools, whether it's Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini or Lovable or Replit or whatever it is, to access your Swoogo data. So you can ask those questions directly in those tools.
Love that, Jessica. So let's switch to showing this off. Let's go into our live demo. And Jessica's actually going to show how this works in practice. And this is all powered by our new Swoogo MCP server.
All right. So I'm sharing my screen here. I'm using Claude today. I just have this open in the browser. But as I mentioned, you can use this with any of your tools that are MCP compatible. So not limited to Claude. You can use ChatGPT. You can use Lovable, whatever is part of your workflow. So I want to walk through a couple simple prompts, but just to note that it's very straightforward to add these connectors. I would just select to add a new connector here, manage connectors, and where I see the Swoogo one, I would input my API credentials. So very straightforward to add these into your chat environment. So I'm going to start off with a pretty straightforward prompt. We have Swoogo University that's coming up this week, and I would love to know like a quick overview on that event. So I'm just going to go ahead and ask. So you'll see as that's working, it's going to go find that event in Swoogo. I believe it's actually called Swoogo University Live event, but it doesn't matter. It's going to go grab that. You could provide it an event ID if that's your flow. But even as we're talking, it's pulling those details about the event. It's pulling registrants, reg types and pricing. It's pulling the session schedule and the locations for all of that and giving us a little agenda and the speakers, and just like a little quick summary of it. So this was a super fast way to get that overview. This is information you can go into Swoogo and see as well, but really nice to have that pull up live for you if you're already working in these tools. One extra note I'll add about the models. Some of the models that you're using, I'm just using Sonnet 4.6. This is really good for getting those super quick responses. If you want to do a little bit further analysis responses or provide a lot more visuals, you can change that model to extended thinking, and other providers have this type of functionality as well. All right, so now I have a quick overview of my Swoogo U event. This looks great. My next prompt, I would love to actually see if I have any type of scheduling conflicts, but I'd love to find that out about a different event that has a little bit more scheduling in it. So I'm asking based on session enrollment, identify these session conflicts where there's any popular sessions overlapping. So you can see it's going in right now. It's getting sessions, it's going to get session registrations, it's going to get more information about those time slots. And what's really cool is like that's pulling all of your data from Swoogo, all of your event data, and then it's using the power of the AI models to do this analysis. So it's going to take a little bit of time for it to put this together. Not too much time, just as we're speaking here. But you can start to see that it's evaluating, for each day, any sessions that are overlapping. And what's even cooler is that we'll also suggest some recommendations about how you could potentially plan around that. So it's going to map the schedule. It's going to give like a little analysis of each day. So you get that visual piece, you get the text response, and then you start to get these recommendations. So I won't go through these line by line, but it just based on what it was seeing, here are some ideas of how you could work this in to either fix your scheduling or just make it a little bit more compatible with what your attendees are looking for. So this
Honestly,
yeah,
go
ahead.
I'm just going to chime in and say that's my favorite part. It's not just that you're getting the answer to your question, but it's taking it that extra step and helping you make recommendations and taking the data and really helping with insights around that, which is so helpful, especially as all of you out there are balancing probably multiple events at once to get those quick insights, to get those recommendations and be able to make decisions fast. But sorry to interrupt. Keep going. Keep showing it off.
No, please back and forth with me on this because it's super cool. All right. So those were just a couple of questions about the structure of the event. Another one that I think is a really interesting use case is to look at an analysis of questions that we're asking our registrants, and to be able to do a little bit more deep dive into their responses. So I've already asked this question, just the response took a little time to generate, a few minutes. So I don't know enough jokes to tell during that response time to be entertaining. So thought I would go ahead and pull that up. But this is where I think you start to see some of that power of operating in these conversational AI chats when you have access to your data. So I simply said for Swoogo U, what kind of workflows are registrants interested in automating? That was a question that we asked. And I asked to analyze the responses, break it down by industry. For the purposes of this webinar, I asked to exclude registrant names so that we're not sharing any personal information. And then also create a visual graph to interact with. So not only can you just ask questions, receive answers, you can ask it to create fun little dashboards for you with your data. So this is something that I use on a day-to-day basis. It's really nice. It gives you that breakdown of the top themes that registrants were asking for in this case. They really want to see workflows that are about registration and data entry, email and comms, templates and event replication. So we can see that, and we can see it broken down by industry, and we can even see those response details if we select, a certain section. So it's a nice little interactive chart, and that's not what it's all about, but it's just something that's really cool that this enables you to do, where you can put your data in this format and learn more about it. So that's one of my favorite things to do right now with our Swoogo data.
And I like that you can even share it out too, right? You've created this analysis, you've created an understanding of recommendations, and then you can share that out.
Yeah. So we've mostly been talking about one event, and another thing that I would love to show, if I can here, is how we can do a little bit of a year-over-year analysis of an event. So we were looking at Swoogo Unconventional, which is an event that we put on yearly. We had one in 2024 and 2025, and I wanted to get a comparison of these two events. So this MCP allows you to access events in your account. So you can start doing a little bit of that cross-event reporting. So in this case, we'll start out with a simple question again. I just want to know how many people registered for Uncon in 2024 versus in 2025. So it's going to go dig and find those event names. It's going to pull the registration counts for those, and it's going to get hopefully a pretty quick answer for me just on that basic question. And again, this is information you can find in Swoogo because that's where we're pulling it from, but also super powerful to have it in this tool. We could then kind of drill down into this. We could ask questions about our registrants. We could ask what industries they're in, what industries were most represented. We could ask about job seniority. We could ask about title seniority. We could ask all of these demographic questions about our attendees right in your chat. So I think that's super powerful. Another, again, cross-event kind of reporting is just asking if you can just show me a event over event benchmark. Tell me how my event changed year over year. So it's going to go pull all of that data for us and build us what I think is a very nice little chart summary, some insights and analysis. So that will take just a second to do that. So you can see some of the prompts vary, but
I was just going to chime in, Jessica, and say, just reiterate what you said before we kind of started the demo. Is a lot of this data you can pull and analyze within Swoogo today, but the goal of building into a tool like this is we know your teams are using Claude and ChatGPT on a daily basis, and helping you to get access to that data and those insights in the tools that you're already using and giving you that optionality is so important to help kind of scale how we're all working. And I think as this is thinking, I think one of the things you called out, Jessica, was like, the data that you have in Swoogo is what you're bringing in. So whatever you can access in Swoogo is what you're bringing in to your AI tool. The powerful thing is, though, these AI tools are so smart that they can layer in additional insights. So taking a company name, you can bring that in and then understand what industry that company is in, or bringing in other tools that have MCP connectors, like maybe a Salesforce, and bringing in like your kind of pipeline intelligence on top to layer in those insights as well.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so it took a little bit of spinning to get there, but we've got this data pulled up now for a comparison of registration and attendance and sessions, all of the session content, which is really awesome, breakdown by reg type, and again, just that side-by-side comparison. So we have the insights that are underneath about cancellations, program expansion, and we can keep digging down there. We can ask our, based on the post-survey analysis, what did our attendee, how did they feel about this event? I think that's a super important kind of post-event analysis. So I'm going to show you, I did actually ask that question here about our Swoogo Live event, and I want to show that response, so I'm not keeping you all waiting here. So we did have, maybe I will keep you waiting. We did have that breakdown here where I asked to show the event over event benchmarking and then analyze the attendee sentiment from post-event survey questions. So again, this is something that it's going to take a little bit of time to generate, maybe a couple minutes, but it's analyzing all of the NPS data that we asked this year. That was something new we did for 2025. We really wanted to see in detail how our attendees were feeling about that event. This is also what's valuable about analyzing and having really strong registration questions and post-event surveys, is so that you can take this information and glean insights from this. So we were able to see that NPS by segment. We were able to see top themes, things that people really enjoyed about an event. Those are things that we can bring forward into the next year event. And then there were things that people maybe didn't enjoy as much or just didn't hit home quite as much. So maybe those are things that we don't pull in. And then I also asked, what should we change for next year? And the AI tool here, it's very confident, but it told me things that must fix for the upcoming year. But I think this is really great. It even proposed an agenda structure and flow, programming and content, logistics and pacing. And this is so interesting because I think if you were in these tools, you could ask these questions without it having access to your event data, and it's going to give you super generic responses. And they might be good responses, but it's not based on your specific event data. It's not based on what your analysis of your own data. And that's really what you get when you partner these two together, the Swoogo MCP and your AI tools. So I can't say enough exciting things about this. I just think this is really cool.
I totally agree. Very powerful thought partner in your data analysis and execution of your event. Thanks, Jessica, for walking us through that. Let's switch back over and just do a little recap on what we saw. So just to reiterate, everything that's kind of powering what Jessica was sharing today live is our new Swoogo MCP server. So just to break it down in terms of what an MCP server is, it's really a bridge between your AI tools and your Swoogo event data. Jessica, I did see a question in the chat, which might be kind of helpful for you to answer as we kind of walk through this slide, but like the difference between an MCP server and like how an API works, right? Maybe we can kind of break that down and explain the differences, because there were some questions around kind of API usage in the chat. But maybe we just start with kind of the MCP server, and I'll take this, and then you can kind of explain the difference between this and like an API. So for the MCP server, what Jessica showed you was it's really simple to go into these tools like Claude and ChatGPT, ask a simple question. The MCP server will call your data within Swoogo. It will read that data, and then it will bring it back and analyze that data within your AI tool. So let's switch to the API functionality. Jessica, maybe we can explain the differences there.
Yeah, so really with the MCP, it is using our API to generate that information and pull it in. It's just that MCP, I think as Katie's described, it's kind of a translator or a wrapper that allows these AI large language models to really understand that information that is being requested and the responses a little bit better. So that's your translator. But under the hood, we're using the API tools to retrieve data. What's really interesting about the MCP is that with the MCP tools, we are able to, in some ways, like package up API requests or API calls that kind of go together in workflows. So the MCP is really, I would say, all about workflows, whereas the API is around specific tool calls, and you use those tool calls to generate workflows. The MCP kind of handles that. So I think in one example I showed, you could see this tool that was called like Swoogo Event Bundle. And you won't see that in our API. There's no tool for that. But what that does is it takes a couple of different API calls or tools that are getting a different event information, and it's kind of bundled that together into a workflow package. So that's some of the power with MCP too, is we can build those workflows. Just
That's
one
really
more
helpful.
note. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Katie.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I was going to say that was helpful, but keep going.
Say one more note about the API and the MCP as well. This is just around kind of access controls. Because it's based on your API credentials, those are specific to your user account, you would not have access to any event data that is outside of what you would normally have access to in Swoogo. So it's pretty secure in that way, for sure.
That's great. Yeah, I think the simplest way you explained it to me was like that translator for AI tools. That was super helpful to break it down like that. And I know the MCP is really emerging as that standard for connecting AI models to these real tools. So you're seeing kind of more and more organizations adopt this MCP server type model. So thank you for breaking that down, Jessica. So why is this valuable? We talked about this a bit, but just to kind of reiterate here, there's a ton of value in being able to allow you to work where you want. At Swoogo, we're firm believers of optionality. So if you are working in a Claude or a ChatGPT or an MCP compatible tool, and you want to bring that event data in, you want to analyze that data, make decisions off of that data, you don't have to switch between the tools if you don't want to. If you prefer to log into Swoogo and do it, feel free. If you prefer to use your AI tool, now you have that option. You also get instant answers. So as you could see Jessica doing that live, she's asking a simple question and getting an answer immediately. So there is power in kind of taking the work, the grunt work out of it, and being able to get those instant answers immediately. Also being able to layer in additional insights on top of what you can pull out of Swoogo, being able to layer in additional insights, like I mentioned, grabbing a company name and then taking it a step further and understanding an industry breakdown based on that company, or connecting other tools like your Salesforce data into your AI tool in addition to your Swoogo data to really look at kind of the full picture of pipeline or revenue that you generated from your event. And then last but not least is really being able to move from insights to decisions faster. So you can really keep your finger on the pulse of this data. You can do it before your event, during your event, after your event, and really helping you not only just answer those questions, but also give you recommendations on how you can improve or change things. So Jessica, I'm going to hand this one back to you around what it can and can't do. We just want to kind of set the expectations around where we're at today, and what the MCP connector can do and what it cannot do. So I'll hand this one to you.
For sure. So with all the things it can do, it's going to feel a little bit like magic, but it cannot do everything. So right now, it can read your events and registrants, sessions, and speakers. We're investing a lot of time in making sure you can retrieve data about your events to pull into your AI tools. But there are some things that you can do, such as creating and updating sessions and registrant data. So if you wanted to manually register someone and you happen to be using your AI tool, you could do that. You could update some session information. And I think one thing that's pretty powerful to augment with is being able to generate some things like session descriptions or speaker bios, things like that, and update those directly in the tool. Things that we cannot do yet, creating and deleting events, sending emails, triggering actions inside Swoogo, accessing any data outside your own account. And then just a note here that while the tools we're using, which are the API, are returning data that is accurate, and those are deterministic, when you're feeding that into AI tools, there is the chance that the analysis that they do on the data that's returned to them may not always be 100% accurate. This is true of all AI tools. So just a little warning there to always double check your work for accuracy.
That's a really good call out, Jessica. I know since we've launched this and been testing it, I've been using the MCP server a lot. And we want to learn from you all too, understand what's working for you, what prompts are helpful. So keep the conversation going with us and make sure to share that with us because we want to hear, we're very much in the experimental phase of seeing what's working. So let's dive into some real questions and real answers. I think it's more powerful to see Jessica do it live, to be honest. But just to kind of simplify it for you to kind of break down some of these prompts and what you can go ahead and start doing pretty immediately if you have a Claude or a ChatGPT and you really want to get in there and use that connector. Caveat here, I just want to mention we will pass around, for those of you Swoogo customers on the call, we have a Help Center article ready for you so that you can go in and learn how to connect your AI tools to this MCP server. But just to kind of recap some of these examples, you can use this for registration. So how many people have registered and how does that compare to last year? That's one Jessica showed live, that year-over-year comparison. Looking at the attendees broken down by title, or if they've checked in yet or not. Speakers, understanding all the speakers, their session titles, and what time they're presenting. I think, Jessica, we even snuck this example in. We didn't show it live, but like if you're working on those speaker bios or you're working on those session descriptions directly in your Claude or ChatGPT instance, being able to kind of push that back and update that into Swoogo, that's another powerful use case. Now, sessions, understanding session capacity, which ones have the most available seats. Maybe you want to do a last minute push to promote people to actually attend that session. Again, going from quick answer to insight and decision. Revenue, so what's your total revenue from paid registrations broken down by ticket type? You can take it that layer deeper. And then logistics, so maybe you have your vendor on site asking how many vegetarian meal options there are for lunch, and you want to quickly ask and get that answer live. And I think there's more possibilities out here as well. And again, we want to hear how you're using it, but just to kind of spark the art of the possible or the possibilities of how you can use a tool like this, your morning briefing. So you could start each event day by asking your AI tool for a 30-second status on your attendance, your check-ins, and VIP arrivals. You could use this for sponsor reporting. I don't know how many times when we're looking to get sponsors for our events, they say, well, what was the breakdown of attendees that came last year? Or what are you expecting this year? What are their titles? What are their industries? Being able to do kind of a sponsor prospectus, that could be a great example of how you can use a tool like this. On-staff support. So empowering your floor staff to be able to answer questions in real time. So understanding if there might be availability in that 2 p.m. workshop without calling over the radio. A post-event analysis, so being able to compare actual registrations, registrations versus actual attendance, those top sessions, no-show patterns, all directly within your AI tool of choice. Executive prep, so maybe you want to prep for a leadership call and you want to see how all of your Q3 events performed. Jessica showed that you can really dive into not only an individual event, you can do cross-event reporting, and you could show summaries over multiple events, all within your Swoogo account. And then lastly, the multi-event comparison. So understanding which events had the highest paid conversion rate, for instance, would be a great prompt. And that brings us to the conclusion. So we do want to open it up for some Q&A. Hopefully we've had some questions answered in the chat, but I'm going to pop over and see what kind of questions that we're getting in the chat, Jessica. Let's see. So we had one question for existing Swoogo customers. Do we contact our account manager to ask how to activate this? My answer would be you don't necessarily have to contact your account manager. As long as what I would do first is if you have someone in your organization who kind of manages your AI tools, I would go to them first and make sure that they unlock that Swoogo MCP connector for you within your AI tool. Oftentimes organizations do have some kind of security or regulation. They have someone in their organization who's really kind of managing those tools to make sure you can see it and you can access it. And then from there, it really just, as long as you are a admin within your Swoogo account, you can log into your Swoogo account, find your API keys and credentials. And when you connect, that's all you'll need is those API keys and credentials. But Jessica, feel free to add in anything I missed there.
Nope, you covered it, Katie.
There was a question around preferred AI tools that works best with the Swoogo functionality. I don't think we would necessarily say there's a preference from what you would use from an AI tool perspective. As long as it is MCP compatible, you can use any tool that you would like. Do you want to add anything there, Jessica?
Yeah, just to, again, to kind of reiterate, there are many tools that are compatible with adding MCP connectors, and those may or may not be available based on your organization's security policy. So just check into that, and if that tool is available to be added, then there's really no difference here. I could use this in Claude, I could use it in Lovable. Really just depends on what workflow fits for you.
See, also got one. Are there training documents, classes, or videos available for this? Sean, we are working on that actively. We will have a blog that we're going to produce today. It kind of goes in some examples of prompts you can use. And then we'll have a help center doc, which will show you essentially what you can do within this MCP connector. So what you can read, what you can write. So that is all coming. And so stay tuned. We'll continue to kind of push out more enablement resources for the MCP connector as well.
I'm seeing a couple questions, Katie, just about like additional functionality.
Yeah.
I kind of want to give a little bit more of a general answer for some of these. We're continuing to expand the functionality in the MCP. This is kind of our first rollout. Again, we're focusing on a lot of like read-only data, but we'll continue to kind of listen to the feedback that we're getting from people that are using it, things that they would find most helpful, and start pulling in more and more functionality into the MCP.
Love that. Was that the one around, can you use MCP Server to query Go Attend and mobile stats too? I saw that one too. That would be an additional, some additional work we would do for that one, right?
Yes.
Yes. Sounds good. Great. Thank you all for your questions. Let's see, we had, how do I keep up to date on Swoogo webinars and Swoogo University sessions? Great question. So Swoogo University is a newer kind of roadshow experience for us. We are doing in-person events this year. We're going to be doing these quarterly. Our first one we're doing this week in Oakland, and then we'll continue to promote additional ones we'll do every quarter. So if you're not on our customer newsletter, make sure we get you on that customer newsletter. You can email me directly if you'd like to, katie@swoogo.com. We'll make sure you get signed up, and we'll make sure you're in the know of both webinars and in-person events coming up. But we typically promote those in our customer newsletters that go out monthly. And then you can also find those on our website as well. We had one around GDPR protocol. So can you address GDPR protocol with pulling data from Swoogo?
Sure. So again, this is a little bit more related to the policy that you have within your organization. The data that we have in Swoogo, we obviously have compliance protocols around that. We have GDPR processes for deletion set up. What you choose to pull into your AI tools from Swoogo is really up to you and what your your security policy allows. We're not storing your prompt data. So just as a side related note, we're not pulling in kind of what your prompts are and those responses into Swoogo. We're not storing that. So I would say it's, again, just definitely reach out to kind of your security team to understand how much that would cause an issue for you to have that data being pulled into your AI tools.
Thanks, Jessica. There was a question too around, are there limitations based on a paid Claude versus free Claude version? I think generally we recommend that this is used alongside a paid version, just because I think the paid versions are what actually are compatible with the MCP connectors. Unless you would change your answer there, Jessica.
No, we recommend kind of the enterprise or the paid plans for any of these tools. They just have more security around those policies.
Perfect. I saw Hillary also dropped in a link for the blogs and being able to subscribe. Another question was around just link to setup too. So just a reminder, we will, after this call, in today, when we send out the recording of the webinar, we will include the Help Center doc on how to go ahead and get started. So you will have everything you need to be able to go ahead and connect and get started. So with that, I think Jessica will probably wrap it, but feel free to reach out to us if you have any additional questions. Thank you so much for your time today, and we're really excited to see what you all build. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you, Katie.
All right, see y'all.